Hi guys, Donnie Rouse here, and today I want to talk to you about second chances. What if I told you that you could have a second chance at life? You might be thinking, like, what is this guy talking about? Second chances? Is that even possible? But I learned a new methodology that I want to share with you today, and it is a simple methodology. It's a matter of looking into the past, learning from the past, so we could bring those learnings into the 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 of our lives going forward. But before we go into that, I want to share a story with you. So I've been working on this espresso roast called the Courage Espresso Roast for the last year now. It's almost at a year's point. And I am on my 10th roast, but as I was approaching roast number 9, a few weeks back, I was roasting the coffee. And as I was roasting this coffee, I realized that I didn't have enough momentum in the roaster, or I should say enough heat buildup to continue the roast and finish it at the end temperature I wanted. So as a result, I had to drop the coffee at a much lower temperature than I had initially anticipated, like 40 degrees lower, which is a huge difference. After that roast, I was feeling a little bit worked up. I'm like, oh my God, damn, this roast, it's not going to come good. What does this mean for me as a roaster? And I started to spiral down this negative path of kind of like demeaning myself. But then thankfully the next morning, I don't know if it was the next morning or later on that evening, I was listening to a workshop by one of my favorite coaches, and he was talking about phase 2. And what he meant by phase 2 was when we look at the past, we can repeat it, right? If we keep playing the same shitty story in our head and we stay with that identity, we can keep repeating it. Or we can extract the lessons from it, let go of everything, and decide to be different, create a new identity for ourselves going forward. So I looked at this and I said, all right, well, what can I learn from this experience here? What can I take away from this roast so that I can apply it to the next one? And this is something I had done many times in the past, but for some reason, every time it doesn't hit, it just kind of hurts, right? It's like the dagger is spinning and turning. So I looked at it though, and I looked at it, and there were many things that I could be grateful for and lessons that I could bring forward to roast number 10. One of them being that, like, I was testing out a new profile, and the result of that, even though I did the light roast, the result of the roast was actually delicious. It had this like nice body, something that I wasn't even expecting or believed it was possible as such a light roast. So I took it to the next roast. I booked my next appointment. At first, I was apprehensive, but that's, you know what? I have to go back into it. Let me do the same roast and apply the learnings. The following week, I went back in and I roasted the same coffee. And this time I roasted just shy of where I wanted to take it. So like a 10-degree difference in terms of where I was initially going to drop it. And the reason I did that was I wanted to see how the coffee developed, because the higher you go in temperature, the faster these reactions start to happen, and you start to burn away all that nuance, the aroma, the acidity. So I was trying to preserve as much as I can of the integrity of the coffee without going too dark and developing into carbon tones. When I tasted this coffee, the coffee was phenomenal. It was, I had like notes of like prune, dried fruit, nuts, chocolates. It was the best roast that I had done of this coffee to date. And as I was looking at this and as I was roasting it, it made me kind of contemplate on life. I'm like, all right, well, if this is possible, I should have contemplated on this life first, right? And I think I did the whole questionnaire. But the point I want to make here is that the same is true as life. Like at any moment, you get to choose to step into phase number 2 or version 2.0. But it requires you to learn from the past. It requires you to detach from the old identity. Sometimes, I'm not saying everybody, but sometimes we tend to replay the same thing over and over and over in our lives. And as a result, we tend to repeat that experience. So I looked at it and I applied this in my own life. I said, okay, well, what is an identity that I've had? And I use my love relationships, for example. In the past, I had kind of pushed away any possibility of relationships because I was worried about, well, what if I am not financially ready, or I didn't feel enough because I wasn't at this certain stage of life? I'm using the air parentheses if you are watching this live. And because of this, and I said, well, what if in the next phase of my life, in version 2.0, I'm worthy of love just the way I am, and I am willing to open myself up to it. And now this is where you have to suspend not your disbelief, but you have to look to the future and kind of step into that identity. And as a result of doing that, all of a sudden you see an opening, you see possibility, but it requires you to learn from what you were doing wrong previously. So in the instance of my relationships, I was looking at the mindsets that were just not, that were keeping me separate, keeping me isolated rather than going out there and finding someone. It was like some of the stories were, I'll never find someone here, or you hear this one a lot. There are no good ones out there. If this is the story you're repeating, then you are not going to find it because you're not going to go against this belief you have. So when I found the error, I was able to look outside of that and to create a new phase 2, a new identity, and all of a sudden now options become available. I'll give you one more example. I did the same thing with my business. Looking at how I wanted to show up, you might look at me like, well, he shows up very well. But at the same time, sometimes I feel like, that one didn't go as well. I may have been doing a live and I'm like, that didn't go as well. Man, it's not good. And I will beat myself up on the inside. And then I'm like, no, go to the next one, right? And it's this kind of this fight uphill, but it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to fight. You don't have to trek up there. Rather, you could do it with grace and you could do it with pleasure. If you just realize that every single time you do it, it's a 2.0, a 3.0, it's a new phase. It's a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 10th, 20th, 100th chance that you're learning and you're applying to it. So again, it requires you to detach from what you perceive as past failures and the past identity, to learn from what you've done so that you can do it better, and to step into a new identity, one that inspires you and pulls you. As I was doing this, and then that's where, if there's one point I want you to come away with from listening to this, is that the glue that holds it all together is a growth mindset. You have to know that you're willing to do the work, that you can do the work, and that change is possible. If you have this trifecta, then you will go do the work, and you can feel it and try it on for size just by saying the 3 things. I am willing, I can do it, it is possible. I am willing, I can do it, it is possible. Whatever it is that you desire, say those 3 things. And I promise and I guarantee that it'll expand your mind to see a different possibility. So as a result of saying that, all of a sudden now new opportunities became available. And then when I show up here, if you've noticed, I've been showing up more frequently if you're getting my emails. And now I'm going to do that with the video here, because I have a new intention. I have a new phase that I stepped into and how I want to serve you and how I want to impact your day. And as a result, it's guiding the actions going forward. So if, the videos here, I haven't been on in a while, and I did a video earlier today and I was like, oh my God, that was horrible. And when I looked back, I was just kind of being very hard on myself. And I caught myself. And as I was doing that, I just gave myself a high five in the mirror. I was upstairs and I gave myself a high five. I was like, you know what? It wasn't about being perfect. It was about taking the action. And I said that I was going to come up here, I was going to show up, and I was going to do the video. And I did that. So hats off to you. Congratulations, Donnie. And now that builds momentum going forward. And it's always about the actions you take. It's never about being perfect. When you're trying to make things perfect, you're making it about yourself rather than the purpose you're trying to serve. So bringing this all together, how do you step into phase 2.0 of your life? First, let's look at the identities. Let's call you out. Call out the bullshit that you've been telling yourself. What identities have you had for yourself in the past? Pick an area. It could be relationships, could be your finances. And then find the fault in your thinking, find the lessons that you can pick from your experiences so that you can pull that forward. Maybe you had, you shopped way too much, a little bit too much, about $7,000 worth of credit card debt too much. But you knew what those habits were that were pulling you in there. And now all of a sudden you could learn and say, all right, well, this happens. Let me change my strategy so then I'm not tempted to go shop as a result of maybe trying to satisfy some other need that I have. And as a result of making that change, stepping into 2.0, creating a new version and identity for yourself, a new vision for yourself, now you can start to live that. So again, what is the past identity you had for a given area of your life? What experiences can you pull from to learn and carry you into the next event? And then the last part is just you have to let go of that past identity, of the past story you've been telling yourself, and step into the future. What is it you want to do? What is it you want to experience? Who do you want to be? When you have that, when you're able to picture that, and it helps if you are taking a notebook and you're journaling on this, because by writing it, you are going to feel it. So by doing that, step into that new persona and watch what happens. So I hope you enjoyed this episode here. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and share it with someone whom you feel could benefit from listening to this. As always, guys, you only get one life. Live fully, live passionately, and most of all, live now. God bless you guys, and I will see you again soon.